Hi, folks. It's high noon here on the East Coast, 9 o'clock on the West Coast, and welcome to this exciting Fortellis Live InVent. This particular InVent is spotlighting service apps utilizing the CDK RO API through Fortellis. As we've done several of these InVents in the past, many of these have focused heavily on the development side, really kind of showing off and highlighting the capabilities of the API architecture that we've created, how this could actually eventually help someone in the future. The beauty of this InVent is that we're actually talking to solution providers who have built solutions integrated utilizing the Fortellis API architecture and are now actually making lives better for dealers. It's a fantastic time for us to kind of really see the dream of Fortellis coming to life. And I'm really excited about the opportunity today to talk to two great development firms that have done a fantastic job of creating great great workflow solutions to work within the service department. As you're all coming in, I'm going to give a minute or two just for people to jump in. I'm seeing 16 or 17 people showing up so far. Again, love to hear your comments. Pop your name in, location over on the side. I have people often ask me what's the InVent name mean? Where does that come from? Like many of us, we all kind of pivoted last spring when COVID kicked in, and as an organization, we've always done a lot of outreach. We've always participated in live events. We've had our highly successful dev days, which have taken place, and there's always a schedule of traditional events as we think about them. That all changed in March, and we looked at everything and said, okay, how go ahead and kind of rebrand this and rethink about this in a better way. And it started really with the name. I suggested the idea of calling this an InVent, something you could do in office or in home, or like me, here in my in-laws' basement. Thanks to green screens, it doesn't look so bad today. But the idea was that we could go ahead and have these events together. We could collaborate. We could come up with new ideas, and we could invent new things together in an InVent. So that was the idea behind it. Again, we've had several of these, and I'm really excited about the one that we're doing today. Welcome, Ted, from Pasadena. We got the West Coast on. Get yourself a cup of coffee. It's going to be a short meeting, but we don't want you to fall asleep. We'll let just one or two more folks roll in before we get started. And what we're going to do first is we're going to share with you two different stories, a story from each organizations. Might even take a minute, maybe put our guys on the spot, let them talk briefly about their product a little more. And then we'll ultimately open this thing up to a panel discussion where we'll talk a little more about Fortellis, and we'll also take your questions about these products to see how they can best suit your needs in the dealership world. I see our folks from Gratis Tech have some support. Sephora made it on. Welcome. Chattanooga, Tennessee. Hopefully it's warmer there than it is up here in Cleveland. I see Susie made her way on. One of our friends over in Chicagoland. Jim, welcome. Cape Coral, Florida. Oh, you're killing me. I so wish I was back home in Tampa. Now that we've gotten past all the hurricanes, I'm assuming the weather's really good down there, Jim. Josh from Seattle, more West Coast coming in. Great. 20 plus people. So glad you guys are all here. I'll bet it's cold in Chicago too. I couldn't believe it. I woke up this morning, I saw snow for the first time in 3 years since I'd moved. Sydney from Lubbock, Texas. I know it's not snowing in Lubbock right now. So we're going to go ahead and move forward here. And what I'd like to do first of all is introduce you to our first guest today. The topic on what we're going to learn now is a little more about a product called Repair360. And while I'd like to talk about it myself, I think that Eric does a much better job than I do. So I'm going to begin first of all by letting him tell a little bit about the product. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and transfer it over to Eric.
Hi, I'm Eric Meehan, VP of Operations with Automobile Technologies. So I've been with Automobile Technologies now for about 6 years. Before I was with them, I worked for a large automotive reconditioning company for another 5 years, and then transitioned from that company over to AMT. AMT was founded in 2006 by Paul Maximoff. We came in to help the automotive reconditioning space create inspections and invoices. They were pretty much all on paper at that point. And then from there, we've transitioned into creating automotive workflow software for dealerships and auto auctions and rental car facilities, which has kind of given us exposure into the DMS tools like CDK and now Fortellis to help kind of facilitate the need of our clients. Repair360 is an automotive reconditioning tool to allow dealerships to streamline their reconditioning process. As a used car manager, it's going to help get cars to the front line a lot faster than what they are today. This tool is going to allow you to have visibility in your reconditioning process. It's going to allow you to make changes in your workflow to become more efficient. So one of the things the tool definitely allows them to do is shave time off of the cycle time of their vehicles. So the time that they get the car at the lot to the time it's ready to be sold, they can increase that and allow them to actually sell cars faster and increase the volume of cars that they can sell. And then, of course, reduce the cost of reconditioning allows them to make more money per car. We've been doing business now with CDK, I think, for about 4 or 5 years. We have one of the older PIP programs where we can pull used car vehicles into our application, which is an important step for most of our dealership clients. We have access to our own internal repair orders that has all the cost and vendors and all the information that somebody would then have to rekey into CDK. So we had obviously been asking CDK for quite a few years for the ability to actually open and write repair orders back to CDK. Wasn't an option until Fortellis, our CDK account manager, actually introduced us to that program. I remember when we first did the CDK PIP program, it took, I think it took us about 12 months to actually get that PIP live between working with CDK on their end and actually developing it on our end and it going to production. Whereas Fortellis has a pretty much out of the box integration that we were able to work with Fortellis and go live. And I think it took us about maybe 2.5, 3 months. So we went through that entire life cycle pretty quick. The used car industry right now is really taking off in light of COVID. So a lot of our clients are actually doing really well right now. We plan on continuing to improve our product to offer more feature and functionality in the used car space. And then continue to also build software into other ancillary markets like auto auctions and rental car facilities, because in the end, they all have kind of the same needs. They have vehicles, the vehicles need to get repaired, and then they need to do something with those vehicles. I think Fortellis was a good move on the CDK part and having this open program where other companies can interact with each other on top of Fortellis platform has a lot of extensibility that we're looking forward to taking advantage of.
Don't do this just yet, but once this InVent is over, I'd encourage you to go to Fortellis.io, jump over onto the marketplace, search for Repair360, check out a little bit about the listing, see some of its details, and then smash that contact subscriber button for me. Reach out to them, ask those questions, request a demo, or better yet, just raise your hand and say, wow, I want this product, let's get started. The beauty of the Fortellis Marketplace is it makes it that easy to truly engage with publishers directly and to make sure that that solution works as best it can for you. While we're talking about engaging with publishers directly, I'm Eric on the spot here and actually bring him on screen real fast. Let's see if I can go ahead and add him in here. Eric, how are you, sir?
Good. Thanks for having me on. Sorry, it's so dark.
So I laughed because just before this call, we've talked about how we're kind of all based all over the country and we're a little bit everywhere. But the funny thing is today I'm the outnumbered one because you and Joe are both in Colorado where it's nice and sunny, and I'm in Cleveland where it's freezing.
Yeah, exactly. It'll be about 62 degrees here today.
That's great. I got Jim's rubbing it in where he's at too, 67 degrees to 82. And Savannah, Georgia.
Yeah, we're not gonna have anything like that.
No, but then again, you got mountains instead of palm trees, right?
Sure.
So we had a good time cutting this video, and I know that there was more that we talked about inside there than what we could have done in about 3 minutes. If I could just ask real fast, when you brought that first dealer online using the system, I know it's always a test when you have that first dealer that you bring on utilizing a new integration. Can you tell me a little bit about how that went?
Yeah, it actually went really well. So as we were getting ready to onboard the client with Fortellis, they're obviously aware that the brand integration pick up some challenges along the way, but they were extremely anxious to have this integration go live. Because one of the bottlenecks within their own company was the fact that they had to open a repair order for every single car within CDK, which took them They told us anywhere between 5 and 10 minutes, depending on the complexity of the repair order. And then they had to keep updating the repair order as additional services were found on. So as we deployed the Fortellis solution, we got them the link to get it added on with CDK, and it went live within
The joys of live TV, folks. Hang on, we're reconnecting right now. Like the funniest thing about one of these events is that nothing ever goes 100% as planned. We're using connection software today, which allowed us to get some nice HD interactions. And at the moment, we're trying to get that piece back up online. While I'm working at getting that back up online, we'll come back and talk to Eric in a couple of minutes. But first, what I'd like to do is go ahead and share with the story of our second guest. The folks at Techwall have a fantastic product, and I'd like to let you learn more about that now.
Hi, my name is Joe Link. I am the Western Regional Sales Manager for Gratis Technologies and Techwall. So I started out in a small dealer group in Chicago as a porter and worked my way up. Was involved with a dealer group that had 43 stores and was given the opportunity to unify the processes amongst the stores. So I developed a business development center, and after 6 years, Gratis Technologies had found me and I found them. We knew that there was a need for somebody who was well-versed in fixed operations, and here we are developing an all-in-one fixed ops platform. What really attracted me to Techwall was the ability to create the RO from a tablet. Many of the competitors out there will say that they can open an RO. When you watch, the lives of service advisors, their biggest frustration with all of the different platforms that are out there is that you can create a pre-write or a appointment, and then you have to take that appointment, go back to your computer, and recreate the entire RO. There's not one service advisor that I've met in my entire lifetime that loves to duplicate things on a daily basis. There's not one technician that I've ever met that loves to retype their 3 C's over and over again. Techwall is the all-in-one fixed ops platform, plain and simple. Having had the opportunity to work with the developers and listen in every single day as to where Fortellis was, the developers praise Fortellis. One of the comments that really stuck out to me was that it was a very smooth process, as it could be hoped for by a developer. Clean design that's easy to navigate. The documentation was concise and well organized. That's something to say about a company these days. Fortellis was very responsive. We would talk about who needed to do what, and 2 hours later, we got an answer from Fortellis with pinpoint technical details as to what our team needed to do. So we found that to be very valuable. Fortellis knows, technology is always changing in the automotive world. Back when I was growing up, that we were well behind, right? But now we've come to a point where we're moving and we're craving it as an industry. We are absolutely craving technology to make our lives easier.
Let me remind everybody again, after the InVent's over, check out Fortellis.io, log into our marketplace, and search for Techwall solution. You can read a lot of great information about it, understand its features, its benefits. Most importantly, you can smash that contact subscriber button. Open that window up, reach out to them, ask additional questions, request a demo, or even better yet, just raise your hand and say, I want this product. At Fortellis, we've done the best we can to make it that easy for you to find a solution that works and to begin utilizing it inside your dealership. With that, I'm going to go ahead and try by magic this time to bring in all of our guests. Fingers crossed, we'll get a good feed this time. It looks like everybody's there. Let's see if we can get the whole team to kind of pop on together here. Hey, it worked! I love live TV. Sorry for cutting you off there, Eric. Let's go ahead and see if I can hear you. Go ahead and give a shout out.
Yeah. Can you hear me better now?
Good, sounding good. We're going to come back to it because it looks like Ted was asking a question already. He's teeing you up for questions. So we're going to reach out to him in just a second. Joe, thanks again for jumping on. I'm going to ask the same question of you, first of all, that I was kind of asking Eric earlier. Can you tell me maybe a little bit about that experience with the first dealer that you kind of integrated once you turned everything on?
Yeah, absolutely. It was, it was smooth. From start to finish with Fortellis and bringing on our first dealership, it was smooth. And shout out to Eric Burns, who has just absolutely just shed so much light on where we can find things that maybe weren't going as planned, but we had the capability of smoothing things over, and I'd say it's probably one of the smoothest installs that we've seen in quite some time.
Awesome. Paul, I see Paul's popping a question out. I'll come back to you, Ted, not forgetting about you. Eric, the question was for you. Paul had said you mentioned changing ROs in Repair360. What about the approval process? How does that work? Can you give just maybe a little bit of insight into some of that approval process?
Yeah, so real quick, obviously within the Repair360 app, they're going to identify what work needs to happen on a car. And just because they identify the work doesn't mean they're going to do the work. The dealership may decide not to keep the car. They may decide to do some of the work and not all of the work, depending on what they, kind of what the margins are that they want to get on the car. So within the Repair360 product, we have the ability to set up different tiers. So they may have a value line of cars where they'll do $500 of work, or they'll do $1,500 of work. And the software will actually automatically approve that work for them and push that car through to CDK and build out and create the repair order and build out the lines. If it exceeds that margin, then what it'll do is it'll actually alert the manager, used car manager, to take a look at the repair order within the Repair360 product, and then they will decide what work they're going to do or not do. And then once they approve it, then it will go out and create that repair order within CDK.
It's great. We were talking right before the show a little bit about every company kind of has their standard bear comment with regards to COVID. And we know that dealers are obviously continuing to struggle. I was just reading the other day about, dealer closures in different states and how that's kind of impacting things. And as vendors for years, we'd always kind of lived inside the dealership trying to make things happen. Installs are always an interesting thing. And actually, Joe was talking a little bit about the install process over at Techwall. Can you just kind of maybe give us a little insight into that?
Yeah, so we're taking all the precautionaries that different states are calling for, but most importantly, it's keeping the dealership staff and our staff as safe as possible. Having had the opportunity to experience COVID, it's not a pleasant situation, I promise you, and I wouldn't wish that upon anybody. But when we're going out to dealerships and installing, we're making sure that protocols are in place. So that everybody is staying safe. We haven't come across a situation yet where individuals or dealerships are not abiding by it. For the most part, the integrity of our clients is awesome, and we're doing everything that we can at our headquarters down in Tennessee to ensure that all of our development teams, all of our sales reps are all taken care of as well. So it's just, it's the time that we live in. And I think that's something that you and I talked about a little bit earlier, is the adaptability of the generation that we're living in 2020, right? Having the ability to change on the fly. We just had a technical difficulty there, right? But we adapt and we get over it. So, Yeah, I think Techwall is on the forefront of ensuring and making things possible in this world that we're living in right now.
It's funny because when I think about my time at the dealership, and maybe I'm dating myself a little bit, I haven't really worked at the dealership level going back probably 10 years, but oftentimes in those days you either had a terminal, maybe two terminals, you're sharing terminals, you're bumping shoulders, trying to work side by side in very close proximity with each other to try to update stuff. By having a tablet-based solution, and both of you have these great solutions that allow that individual to decouple away from that old keyboard setup. I think in that own regard, that's a safety opportunity for the dealership because it makes it easier for those workers to keep that distance that they need to protect themselves.
100%. I'll just add that, for those that have been around, paper route sheets, right? You think about all the germs that you're experiencing, pens, route sheets, multiple different computer keyboards, all that kind of stuff, right? With 360 and with us on Techwall, being able to unify the experience of a service advisor, of a technician, it gives you great abilities now to isolate each other, because this isn't going away for quite some time. But it's something that we, again, have to adapt to.
It's great.
Yeah, and if I could add, one of the things outside of COVID that both solutions help fix is the fact that people were just losing sheets of paper, right? So a lot of our clients were taking sheets of paper with what work needed to be done on the car and putting it inside of the car, and if somebody lost that piece of paper, then nobody knew what was going on. They had to go back to their internal tools to figure out what work they needed to do. Or they were trying to keep it on whiteboards, and somebody had to run to the whiteboards to actually see what work needs to be done on their car. So having a tablet in the tech's hands as he's doing his work enables him to, be faster and more efficient.
And we've never had an instance where someone brushed up against a whiteboard, or someone brought their kid in for work day. Hey, Dad! I've seen entire months disappear off of window boards like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hey, I'm going to throw this back over at you, Joe. I've got Paul asking a question to you, and I'm going to first actually jump over to Ted's question because I didn't want to let that go. The question that had been asked over to you, Eric, was, how does Repair360 differ from some of the other recon software products that are out there?
Yeah, that's a fair question. There are other different types of products on the market, just depending on what it is you're trying to do, right? So there are products out there like Rapid Recon or Recon Velocity that kind of help dealerships keep track of where their vehicles are. There's other tools out there that help dealerships purchase parts. There's other products out there that help them do inventory. And then there's other products out there that kind of help them manage their vendors and their internal employees around efficiencies. So where we kind of try to differentiate ourselves is kind of taking all of those products into one. So we like to say we try to remove swivel chair operations, right? Where you may be having one tool and then keying into another tool. With Repair360, you kind of have all of those tools in one. So you shouldn't need to use another tool once you install Repair360 into your used car operations.
Something that's interesting, it came up in both of the interviews. These two companies, they're not new to the game. These companies have been around for a while. They both have deep and have had some very deep integrations over the years with CDK, whether it's through the parts department or it's inventory management. These guys have worked for years with that deep integration to kind of make that work. And being the pioneers that they were right in line at the front to make sure that they were able to utilize this newest opportunity through RO API. And kudos to both of you for being on that cutting edge. That's what kind of, in me, always defines a great product. Are you out there really trying to innovate quickly and being on the forefront? Joe had asked a question. I'm sorry, actually, Paul had asked a question. How does your solution work to manage vendor sublets? And the same question about approval process with regards to Techwall.
Yeah, Paul, thanks for the question. And, in a typical environment, what happens with vendors, right? Repairs done on a bumper. Guy's got to walk back to the dealership and give a physical invoice to somebody, right? Maybe some dealerships allow their service advisors to create POs. Maybe they have to go to the parts department, whatever the case may be. Eric had hit the nail on the head, efficient, right? Everything can be set up, and to be able to take in one platform for everything. And I always ask dealerships whenever I start, I say, count how many different platforms you have used or are using currently. At one dealership I worked for, we had 36 different platforms that a service advisor had to use, right? 36. Now that includes all the Microsoft Outlook, all the suite of things. But at the end of the day, we are making it impossible for service advisors to do their jobs, because they have to learn how to use this platform, this platform, this platform, this platform. Well, what happens is we bring this all into one, at Techwall, we bring this all into one platform. So with your vendors, it's as easy as setting up an account, and everything is electronically done with push and pull from a mobile device. Okay. Again, we're trying to create the efficiencies that takes a service advisor and puts them in an environment that is solely customer centric, taking the technician and keeping him in his workspace, keeping the parts department doing what they need to be doing, right? So from that standpoint, that's how we in Techwall manage our vendors. It's one-stop shop, right? The approval process is second to none. You get a link on your phone, and what we call the vehicle health report, formerly known as the MPI, we have the ability to have a customer approve and disapprove recommendations from the click of a button on your cell phone, via email, whatever it is. The developers at Techwall have truly created a simplistic way for customers to be engaged in the experience, and not to the point where they're going to spend hours and hours. We're talking instant gratification, right? We're talking the ability for a technician to not have to wait for a service advisor for approvals. They just get going. So your efficiencies, your hours, all your production increases. And it's something to see, having been in the fixed ops world for 28 plus years, and having the ability to see technologies and things of that nature evolve. Here at Techwall is really neat to be able to say, okay, it is a truly all-in-one stop shop for the service advisors, the technicians, the parts departments, and everything. So it's neat.
That's great. So I touched on this earlier with each of you, having a lot of experience. Your firms have done a lot of integration work over the years, and Fortellis is kind of like the newest piece of that. If tomorrow a new DMS came and said, hey, we're thinking about publishing on Fortellis and having you integrate that way, is that something you guys would endorse?
Yeah, absolutely.
Eric,
we do a lot of integrations all year, every year. And one of the biggest problems with doing integrations is the fact that everybody does integrations a little bit different. So, and that ends up adding a ton of time to the integration process. If another DMS came to us and wanted to do an integration through Fortellis, it would actually really simplify it, because we'd be able to use a lot of the same functionality, features, integrations that we did with CDK to bring them on board, and should allow both companies to go live very quickly versus doing a custom integration.
So you get your piece done faster. The DMS gets their piece done faster. The revenue flows quicker. Everybody wins.
Yeah, absolutely. It is a win-win.
You guys heard that here. Joe, did you want to tag in on that at all?
I'll piggyback on what Eric said. Absolutely. I would highly recommend Fortellis and the integration and what they've done for us. For all those CDK users that are there, now it has changed the environment so much that you can get rid of all those different platforms for us, and bring it all in one at a much reduced price, right? But you talk about a revenue stream, it's quick, it's efficient, and you don't have to wait 6-7 months anymore for an installation. It's something that can be implemented really quickly.
That's great. We're coming up on time, but I don't want to miss an opportunity for each of you guys to have any final thoughts. Eric, do you want to throw a final thought in there for us?
Yeah, the only thing I'll say is, working with Fortellis was a breeze, so we highly recommend them. Probably the biggest thing outside of revenue or anything else like that is the fact that it just really streamlines the process for our customers, right? And the easier it is for them, the easier it is to do business with them. That's a big win for us, regardless. So we highly recommend Fortellis and CDK to our customers. And like I said, if any other DMS provider comes on, we'd happily recommend that to them as well to keep the business smooth and as efficient as possible for our clients.
Okay. Joe?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that the partnership that we have taken on with Fortellis just allows us so much more capability of streamlining the processes, making dealership lives better and easier, and ultimately it's a win-win for all involved. Fortellis, I would recommend highly for anybody that's out there that is looking to make a change, no matter what. Absolutely.
Great. Once again, I want to thank both of my participants for joining in today. I'm going to kind of just close this out, and also thank you for viewers for showing up and engaging and asking the questions that you had. We're always excited to try to learn from this process and try to answer questions to make sure that people are doing things in a way that they want, and that Fortellis as a platform is able to meet those needs, both for our developers as well as our dealers that utilize the end results. And with that, I'm going to thank everybody once again, encourage you, once you get off here, jump online, go over to Fortellis.io, click on that marketplace link, check out these 2 different products, and reach out to them. Hit that contact publisher button, ask a question, do a demo, request a demo, or better yet, just raise your hand and say, I want this product. We look forward to seeing you at our next live event. And until then, happy selling.